Hey guys, I'm Tom, and if you take a look at this channel you will never find an unboxing video. Why? Really simple, my hobby room at the house really is too small to do them, but for this time I'm gladly making an exception for the unboxing of the Avios Extra 330 LX. Why? Well, basically because I've been involved in the development of this plane ever since the V1 came out. So when Stuart came back to Hobby King, asked me to start working on the V2 and then do the unboxing and show you some flight video, obviously I said yes, and it was a blast to do. What I'm going to show you today is the unboxing, we'll assemble the plane, and I'm going to show you some flight footage. Let's get into it. Yep, there you go, one unboxed plane. Alright, so let's look into the components you'll find in this box, right? And let's start with the big one, the fuselage. So the first thing that stands out is obviously the color. The old one was the blue and orange RC Group scheme. We've chosen an entirely new red, white and black and gray scheme, which looks awesome in the air. It has a bit of a, I just have to show you the wing already. It has this kind of like bat idea behind it, and it looks fresh, it looks new. I really can't wait for these to sell out and to sell out quickly, so Hobby King orders a bunch of them and can order them in different colors, because we also tested this color scheme in yellow and that was bright yellow, was really cool as well. But we chose the red because A, it looks cool, and B, it stands out really well in the air. Yeah, new paint job, new decals, awesome. Also, this canopy had a pilot in it in the old version. We weren't too happy with the scale of the pilot, and adding a scale pilot would add too much weight, so basically we chose to paint the canopy from the inside, and it actually looks really good in the air as well. Alright, so starting all the way in the front, we've got a new 600 kV motor in there. I've been testing a lot of motors because we really wanted to find a sweet spot, because well, basically this size 54 inch, you would say that it's just a bit small for a 6S setup and on the bigger side for a 4S setup, so we found a really great compromise in this 600 kV motor, which is really durable and gets you really good power as well. And then also in the front, open up this hatch with a magnet in the back, obviously, and that opens up a huge battery compartment with the 60 amp Aerostar ESC, and as you can see, there's plenty of room to mount your battery. You know, you don't even need Velcro for the battery. I found the foam that's used on the battery tray is enough to keep your batteries from slipping if you just tighten the Velcro strap tight enough. These pull wires are already attached and they are already made to the correct length for you. Servos installed, everything looks really good. I have to say the paint job came out very good. And then on the bottom there's another hatch, and that opens up the compartment for your rudder servo, also with the pull wires already installed. So this might sound a little bit silly, but I flew a couple of prototypes, and then the final touch that only came in the last prototype I flew was that they painted this spinner in matte black. And the funny thing is, it really finishes up the plane. I had the pre-production plane with the shiny black spinner, and this really finishes it. Then I want to talk propellers. So it's a 14x7 wooden propeller. So it's a 14x7 wooden propeller. Now in testing, I think Hobby King sent me every prop they had in sizes from 13 up to 16. So I started with 13x6 up to all the way up to 16x6, 16x7 I think, and found a perfect balance in this 14x7. Why? It will give you efficiency, it will give you good decent flight times, but also it will give you enough power to get some speed and to get some pull out. Aluminium landing gear really does take a beating, and you know, wheels, axles comes installed like this, so all you have to do is basically just screw it onto the fuselage and you're good to go. Then we did change out the spring metal in the tail landing gear. We found that to be a little bit weakish, so we basically used thicker material, so now it's really nice and sturdy. So really good if, like me, you like heavier landings or you know whatnot. There's this little carbon tube in there, which is actually a scale detail. Which is funny about the Extra is that it actually has some panel lines and some scale details. You don't see that in many aerobatics planes, but in this case, this is actually a scale detail, being an exhaust that you can attach and just glue into the bottom of your cowling. Other than that, everything, all the screws, they come in these little bags marked, so even if you wouldn't have a manual, which will be downloadable of course, even if you wouldn't have a manual, you know, you'd basically be able to assemble the plane without anything. Also has an aileron splitter. I don't use it, but you could. I would advise you to go for a 6-channel receiver so you can put the ailerons on different channels, but if you only have a 4-channel receiver at hand, just use the aileron splitter. The ailerons will be set up and centered already. Moving on, good solid carbon wing spar goes through the fuselage and wings will attach without any problem. Let's go to the tail. So what I like about this tail is that it comes hinged. So basically it comes out of the mold like that, but the hinges are already in. So there's on each side there's 3 hinges already in there, and then we have the vertical stab with the rudder. Same story here. So there's, if I don't know if you can see the light coming through, but there's hinges in here already. Basically attachment for your servo wires. Everything is there. So basically this goes together like that, and all of this just screws in through the bottom of the fuselage. Big surfaces, right? Same goes for the wings and the ailerons. So huge ailerons on this, 5 hinges in each aileron, and then on the other side we have these metal gear digital servos. The supplied push rods, if all goes well, they should be at the correct length already, and these should be centered already as well. So that's a nice touch, making this plane go together really fast. And then to finish it off, obviously, especially if you go and do some 3D flying, you'll like the SFGs, the side forge generators. They have a conical slot on there which fits nicely onto the one on your wing. 2 screws, set, good to go. The wings actually click into the fuselage. So you'll just push them on your wing tube, and then you'll push them until you hear a click and they'll be fixed. And then to take them back off, it's a matter of pushing this button and pulling them off again. So assembly at the field is really fast. So the last thing I want to talk about is power. In the box you've got this 600 kV motor with a 60 amp speed controller, 14x7 prop that enables you to fly the plane on 4S. I would recommend a battery anywhere between 3.5 and 4.5 thousand milliamp. You don't need a high C value for this type of flying. It's not a motor that's spinning really fast, right? If you're into classic aerobatics, I would recommend you go with a 4.5 4S battery. It will be a bit heavier. The plane will be a little bit more nose heavy, but you'll be fine with a 4.5, I promise. And that will actually make the plane a bit more stable as well. If you want to fly 3D with it on 4S, just go down in milliamps a little bit. go to a 3,500 perhaps, or use these LIHV packs, high voltage ones. This is a 3450 amp, and they just give it a little bit more oomph. Then when I was playing around, I thought, you know, why not try 5S? And to my amazement, actually the 14x7 prop works wonders on 5S as well. You'll have faster spinning, you'll have more RPM, so you'll have more power. If you see the difference between 4S and 5S in the flight video, it really shows. You'll have a lot more pull out, so if you want to go into all kinds of crazy 3D stuff, I would really recommend you go with a 3000 to 3500 5S pack. Obviously you'll have lower flight times, but you'll have a lot of fun as well. Now I did only test this in the winter time, so it was never more than 15 degrees outside, and it really pushes the 60 amp ESC to the limit. I haven't had any problems yet, but if I'm going to fly this plane in the summer, I am going to put a 70 or an 80 amp speed controller in there. So if you want to go and fly the plane really fast, really hard, or do a real hard 3D, do switch out the ESC for a bit heavier one and just fly it on 5S, and you'll have tons of fun. I think that's it. I've got a bunch of crap laying around now. Let's assemble it. Don't you just love it when it just fits? Alright, now obviously mine was already set up for the previous version, but this is, and I'll show you, everything at 0. All done. The build cost me about an hour, I think. Goes together really well. As I said before, you really don't need a manual. There will be a manual, but it's so easy to assemble. It's really quick to assemble as well. Most of the push rods have the correct length already. Most important part is that the pull wires have the correct length already, and basically the servo was centered as well. So yeah, it looks good, sweet finish, sweet paint job, and ready to take to the skies. Let's go to some flight footage. Now, it's not a flight review. I've been involved in the creation of this thing, so I can't really do an honest review. Obviously I like it, so let's just let the footage speak for itself. Let's start the flight footage with a comparison between 4S and 5S power, and you'll see in here the difference.
And it is.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's fast enough.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a pop top. It just gives you a little bit more control over stuff like, I'm gonna do a pop top now, right? So that makes it like really aggressive. But then, you know, once you get it into slow stuff, you have a little bit more response on the throttle as well for the 3D part. You really see that. So
And just the colour in general working very well for you, right, Tom?
Yeah, it does. Now I can really pull out, and you see the difference with the 4S, right?
Yeah.
I'm low.
was that?
You can really see and hear the difference between the 4 and the 5S setup, right? This is actually an evening flight at Rosenberg, and this is on 4S. So in this footage you see that the 4S setup will give you more than enough power to do whatever you want. Agreed, my go-to right now is 5S whenever I have the batteries handy, because it's not about speed, it's about control, it's about throttle control, which is crucial for good 3D, so it just gives you much more authority. And I think the main characteristic which is shown here of the flight characteristics is that this plane is so damn steady and stable in the roll axis, which is awesome to train Harriers. A lot of planes will have a lot of wing rock, this one doesn't. And also in the 4-point roll, there is just next to no coupling when in knife edge, which is also awesome to train a lot of maneuvers, you know, 4-point rolls, slow rolls, rifle rolls, that kind of stuff. So yeah, and basically just a fun plane to throw around the skies. Well, obviously because I've been involved, it feels like my baby, but you know, it just flies well, so that's why I love it. Alright, enough talking for me. I'll leave you with some more random flight footage and music. Enjoy. There you go, the Avios Extra V2. If you're gonna get one, I hope you're gonna have as much fun with it as I've had in the creation process, and as I'm sure I'm gonna have in the future flying it. It's been a blast, so thank you Hobby King for making me a part of this process. It was really cool. Yeah, and I know that some people are going to want to ask me, because I know that from previous videos I did with onboard footage, what cameras I use. Actually, I just recently bought an Insta360 Go. You should go and Google it because they're awesome to put on your planes. So that funky footage from the back of the plane, that was all the Insta360 Go. None of what you've seen is editing. It just comes out of a tiny little camera with awesome software. So yeah, there you have it, the Extra. Thank you so much for watching. On your way out, maybe grab a subscription if you like what you saw, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, bye bye.